Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So today we will be discussing some test onto the soil sample for finding out physical and mechanical properties. So first one, as we have discussed in the previous lecture, I was not having the figure, but somehow some of the tests I will be discussing using this particular document, and some tests will be discussed in using another document. All of them have been uploaded onto the Google Classroom with a specified folder, unit 2 and 3, and within that there is a folder soil testing. So the article has already been covered with the specific name of the folder in your Google Classroom. So there you can see this particular document is available. So sieve analysis, what is the purpose of it and how we execute it? After discussing some of the tests, the purpose of this particular article in the unit is to know how to do the report writing in a generic manner. So distribution sieve analysis is used for distribution of gravel and sand particles. The formal procedure is described in ASTM. So there are various international codes according to the country. They define their own methods of sieve analysis. A stack of sieves is actually arranged in a manner from starting from the coarse grained at the top with the most fine at the bottom to separate the particles into size bins. A known volume of dried soil, that is a group of soil, a particular volume of the soil is taken at the most the coarse grained sieve, that is 4.75 mm. It is cloths broken into individual particles is put into the top of stacks of sieves arranged from coarse to fine. The stack of sieves is shaken for a standard period of time. So the time limit is fixed that we have to fix. We have to keep on shaking that particular vibrator. Actually, these all stacks of sieves are put on a vibrator, rotary vibrator mechanical arrangement. That we define the time limit such as 5 minutes. So we switch on the switch for 5 minutes, and then the sieves continue to shake, and accordingly the sample disintegrates into small pieces, and whatever is passing through each sieve is going to come down, and whatever is retained onto that particular sieve, it is retained. So that the particles are sorted into size bins. This method works reasonably well for particles in the sand and gravel range. Fine particles tend to stick to each other, so there is a limit to which even the sieve analysis works. There are particles. There are the types of sands which are very finer to some nanomicrons or microns, 1 micron, 2 micron. So those particles actually stick to each other, and they are difficult to be separated out as a gravel or sand or clay. So in that case, it is becomes ineffective. This method becomes ineffective. For that water, we have to do the hydrometer test. If there are a lot of fines present in the soil, it may be necessary to run through the sieves to wash the coarse particles and clots through. So initially we try to separate them out using the water to run through the different sieves. But if even that doesn't work out, so in that case we use the other test. A variety of sieve sizes available are that is for the numbering could be anything, but the main thing is what is the size of the opening, because the numbering varies from country to country. In India, the numbering of the sieve can be different as compared to America, that is ASTM. Whatever Eurocode suggests, they could be having a different numbering. But more or less, the size of the opening of the sieve remains same. That is, the most coarse one is 4.75 mm, and the least one is 0.075 mm. So it could be, it is sand to silt. That means if you are using for clay, that clay will be retained, it will be passing, and some part of it will be retained on 0.075. So this, let us say if I am showing you this onto the picture, I'm having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So out of these 9 sieves, it is quite possible that up to the 6 sieves, the sand and clay are going to pass through all the 6 sieves, and they will not be retained on any of them. But as soon as it reaches the seventh sieve, it is possible to separate them out. That this is whatever is passing is a sand, and what is retained is a clay. So that is why they have mentioned 0.075 mm. As per ASTM is the sieve which is differentiating the sand from silt and clay. According to the British standard, it is 0.063 between sand and silt. 2 mm is the boundary between sand and gravel. Now we can see somehow we can have an idea here that we are having a coarse grained one here, which comes. This is actually, you can see there we are having 9, but the same is used for aggregates also. So that is why you can see such a huge size 40, because we need to separate out 80 mm also, and we need to separate 40 mm also, that is 4 centimeter. So it is used for aggregates, the same set of sieves. For sand, silt, and gravel, clay, we know they don't have such a huge size. So we can start from 4.75. So next is hydrometer analysis. That is classification of fine grained soils. I already told you that if it is not possible after pushing the water through all those sieves to separate out the sand from silt and clay, we use this particular test, that is hydrometer analysis. So that the finer the sand is determined primarily by the Atterberg limits. So there are two types of methods again. Atterberg limits, the test we will also see that the water that is a plasticity limit, shrinkage limit, all those limits we find out of on a soil sample when tested into the laboratory. So that is another method to separate out the sand. So that is not by their grain size. That if we want to do the classification of the soil, then it becomes difficult because they are quite finer as compared to sand. So that is why they are being classified as per their Atterberg limits. It is important to determine the grain size distribution of fine grained soils. The hydrometer test may be performed. So there is another way out. One way out is Atterberg's limits. The other way out is hydrometer test for very small particles such as some microns, which comes into the category of the soils. So for that, we are going to have a soil sample mixed with water into a beaker or a glass jar and shaken to produce a dilute suspension in a glass cylinder, and then cylinder is left to sit for a specified period of time. It is used to measure the density suspension. It is also used for measuring the density, which we call as pycnometer test. So it is one thing which I have highlighted here. It is very important. I have highlighted here time. So it is a variation or it is a function of time. How much time will the silt will take to settle down? How much time the clay will take to settle down on the bottom of the jar, or there will be a part of clay which is not going to settle down anyhow. It is always going to remain unsettled and diluted with water. That is also a category available. So clay particles may take several hours. Clay particles may take several hours to settle past the depth of measurement of the hydrometer. Sand particles may take less than a second. So whatever particles have settled down, in what duration, the number of seconds, if it is 1 second or 2 second, or if it is less than second, even then, you can have a stop clock. What is the amount which has collected at the bottom of the jar? Accordingly, you can categorize the silt or sand into the specimen of the soil sample. Clay particles can be sufficiently small that they never settle down because they are kept in suspension by Brownian motion, and it is classified as colloids. So when you have got one particular soil sample and you do the classification that this soil sample is having this much silt, this much sand, and this much clay. So at different location, at different sites, you can take an altogether soil sample and you can do these two tests. And the third one is, of course, Atterberg limits. Using these 2 to 3 tests, you can classify the soil sample. Then we have got standard penetration test. The standard penetration test is an in situ. I have again used a different color for this. It is a dynamic test. Dynamic means when the hammer is being used, so it is with the time also it is going to a depth with number of blows. Designed to provide information on the geotechnical engineering properties of the soil. This always have to be remembered that this is the purpose for which we are doing this particular standard penetration test. The test procedure is described in the British standard, ASTM, Australian standard, and even in IS standard also. So this is an overall procedure, how it is being done. So we have got a hammer, which is 63.5 kg in weight. So it is having an arrangement, a rod, and we have got a sampler here, which is again we have already seen, that is called as split spoon sampler. So sometimes it is being added by the sleeve also. So first 45 centimeter we do. The last 30 centimeter are very much critical. This is the first increment, and then this is the second increment, and this is the third one. Whatever n value or the number of blows for a particular soil sample is going to be recorded are going to tell us that what is the arrangement of the soil strata beneath. The test uses a thick walled sample tube with an outside diameter 5 centimeter and an inside diameter of 3.5 centimeter and a length of 650 mm, that is 65 centimeter. This is driven into ground at the bottom of a borehole by blows from a slide hammer. So we already from 2 to 2.5 meters we take out the soil using or some auger, and we whatever is length of the rod is available, although it is going to be standard. Let us say it is 2 meter is the rod which we are going to use for our particular SPT. This rod length, although it has been mentioned here that it is 650, but the depth, we have started the testing from here. Now it varies at what depth you require the soil strata to be evaluated. Accordingly, this bore hole has to be done. This is driven into ground at the bottom of a borehole by blows from a slide hammer with a weight of 63.5 kg, falling through a distance of 760 mm. The sample tube is driven 150 mm, that is first 150 mm, into the ground, and then the number of blows needed for the tube to penetrate each 150 mm are recorded or evaluated. So these are the next 45 centimeter is critical for evaluating the number of blows. They are being recorded. The sum of the number of blows required for the second and third 6 inches of penetration is termed the standard penetration resistance. So the number of blows for this 15 centimeter is one value, and the number of the next 15 centimeter is another value. That is, these two different values are going to be recorded as number of blows, and it will be called as standard penetration resistance. And based on this, how we are going to use it, that is being documented. The blow count provides an indication of the density of the ground. The density of the ground, and it is used in various geotechnical engineering formula. The same as I have added here, that where it is being used. While we find out the bearing capacity based upon Terzaghis formula or based upon the other formulas, or we have to design the mat foundation, we have got one of the methods, the conventional method, where we use the N values. And if we want to design the pile foundation, then also the number of blow count giving the density of the soil strata is going to be used. It gives an idea of the relative density of the granular deposits below. Virtually impossible to obtain undisturbed samples. These are actually specific merits of this particular test over other types of tests, because this is the only method where we get relatively undisturbed sample. हमारा जो core इसमें नीचे जाता है, the sampler, this sampler goes down and this sampler brings back a soil sample which is relatively undisturbed sample. Similar to the core cutter method. In core cutter method, what we do, we put the core cutter, we hammer it, it is relatively onto the surface. So in this, the sampler is located somewhere here. So when it goes back onto the surface, it gives a relatively undisturbed sample. So this is not possible in any other method to certain depth. So we can see here, we are going approximately 2 meters down. So on to this much depth, no other method is available. The great merit of this test and the main reason for its widespread use is it is simple and inexpensive. Simple means the skill set, the skilled labor is not much required for this particular test. You have to just auger the hole, you have to give the blows to the hammer, and whatever number of blows are there, that can be recorded by any means. Earlier it used to be recorded manually in very many decades ago. So that is its simplicity. The soil strength parameters which can be inferred are approximate. So it is not giving exactly 100% correct, but it is approximate. But it is very useful in guiding the ground conditions. Quality of undisturbed sample is suspect. That is, in case we are not getting good results from this method, but still it is advantageous for hard clays, sandy clays, where it is going to give very close answers. Because it depends upon the soil strata. And if we have got an unacceptably disturbed sample, then it is not possible for standard penetration test to be used. In that case, we will have to go for plate load test to find out the bearing capacity of the strata. When it is carried out in granular soils, groundwater level, the soil may, so these are the conditions where no other test is possible. So if you have got a very high water table, you have got the loosened soil, so SPT is going to work out. It will give close results. No other method is available. You may add other further drilling tools, drilling rods, but in that case, it will not be called as SPT. But still, it will give you the idea of the results. It depends upon the soil type, with fine grained sands giving the most useful results. So, if it is being asked that for which soil types the SPT gives the maximum good results, you can say it is the fine grained sands. With coarser sands and silty sands, it gives reasonably. So it is coming down. Then for clays and gravelly soils, it is the results are not going to be that much good. But it is, they are still representative of the soil strata. So whatever the value of N count is there, number of blows in the three categories of soil strata is going to be there. They are going to be varying from very good to very poor. And for clays and gravelly soils, it is going to be intermediate. So despite having many flaws into SPT results, still for the design purposes, for evaluation purposes of the soil strata, they are still being used very tremendously because of their simplicity, inexpensive, the method, and the results are far accurate as compared to the real theoretical output. Then we have got cone penetration. The cone penetration test is another method of in situ testing method, which represents the geotechnical engineering properties of soil. Now here, there is no word dynamic being used. The reason being that it is being pushed into the soil strata and to a certain length from the ground surface. It is not being hammered. So it can be assumed to be static because the rate of going the cone inside the ground is very slow. It was initially developed in 1950s in a Dutch laboratory. That is why it is sometimes called as Dutch cone test to investigate the soft soils. So again, I have mentioned, highlighted the soft word into another color to give you the idea that it is for the soft soils. Because we are actually moving the cone very slowly into the ground. So if the strata is going to be very denser, so it will become difficult for a so slow penetration rate for the cone to enter into the ground. The test method consisting of pushing an instrumented cone. Now you can see here we have used the word instrumented cone. That means there are some attachments to this cone which are giving it difference again for one of the reasons from the SPT test. So it is already instrumented cone is there with the tip facing down into the ground at a controlled rate, that is 2 centimeters per second. The rate of movement of the CPT cone is 2 centimeters per second. The resolution of the CPT delineating stratigraphic layers is related to the size of the cone tip. It varies from 3.5 centimeter to 4 centimeter. So with the variation of the diameter of the cone, there is a variation in the resolution of the CPT test results. It is having a cross sectional area. If we take 3.6, again it varies from 10 to 15 centimeter square. Earlier, in the very earlier days, it used to be telling us only the bearing capacity. So again, as in SPT also, when we replace the N value into the formula, we get the bearing capacity. Here also, in earlier days, it used to finding out the bearing capacity. But for the soft soils, the original cone penetrometers involved simple mechanical measurements. Different methods were employed to separate the total measured resistance. So this is again the total measured resistance of the soil, or you can say penetration resistance is a parameter to evaluate various other geotechnical engineering properties into components generated by the conical tip, that is the friction tip, and friction generated by the rod string. So the tip of the cone is going to give one parameter, that is one value, and the friction generated by the rod of the CPT arrangement, that is going to give another resistance. So there are going to be two friction resistance which are going to be added together to finalize one value of the total penetration resistance in case of CPT. Friction sleeve was added. The other attachment friction sleeve, if you add it, it will remove the friction coefficient and it will tell you the cohesive strength. It is being told that since the first quarter of the 20th century, whatever the arrangement which are being added subsequently with the timeline. So in 1960s, sleeve was added to the CPT to find out the cohesive strength. Cohesive sleeve add हो जाती है, उसमें soil sample जो दो friction resistance है उसका, वो आप quantify कर सकते हो. So after quantifying the friction resistance, you can find out the cohesive strength of the soil sample. Now, with the time since 1960s to the start of the new millennium, attachments have continued to be attached to this particular instrument. 1970s, it was further electronic other instruments being attached. Now the most modern CPT comes, which can also find out pore water pressure. Now it can also find out the friction resistance to correct the friction values into the formula. हम पहले एक फॉर्मूला से बेयरिंग कैपेसिटी निकाल लेंगे, या अगर आप पाइल डिजाइन कर रहे हो तो उसमें फ्रिक्शन रेजिस्टेंस को हम अलग से या तो माइनस करते हैं प्लस करते हैं. So that can also be corrected based upon this particular attachment. Piezometer data can also be calculated using hydraulic rams. one of the advantages of the CPT over SPT is that the more continuous profile of soil parameter with CPU data recorded at 2 centimeter intervals. So because it is highly digitally instrumented, so after every 2 centimeter, as the cone is moving downward, it is giving all the data about the various layers of the soil with 2 centimeter gap. Whereas in SPT, what we are seeing after 2 to 2.5 meters, we are getting the strata in the as n number of blows. For generic value, it is there for total 15 centimeter. So for next 45 centimeter, you are getting a data, although which can be indirectly put into the formula, but it is not that fine calculation, it is not that fine data as compared to CPT. Further, now in recent times, even the geophones are being added into the cone, which gives us the direct shear wave velocity and compression wave velocity, which I told you the other day that they are being used for quantifying the shear strength of the soil strata, which is quite important for earthquake resistance evaluation. Whenever we have ground acceleration, that is lateral load into the soil strata, then the shear strength, not the uniaxial vertical strength, but the shearing resistance of the soil is important for finding out the liquefaction potential of the soil strata. वो soil earthquake के time क्या वो liquefy होगी या वो नहीं होगी, that can only be evaluated by shear wave velocity and compressional wave velocity. So that can be added, evaluated using geophone. Further, now if you want to find out the constituents of the soil also, XRF can be done. If you want to find out the conductivity and resistivity, that can also be done. Then cameras capturing the video of the soil strata are also being added these days. So it was standardized in 1986. Prior to it, the researcher and designers were using it without being standardized into a particular code. When the Indian code is going to allow, or American code, European code is going to allow you that now you can use it for the purpose, then only officially you can use it. So in 1986, it was being finalized and standardized by ASTM. As compared to SPT, it is having increased accuracy, speed of deployment, that is not more large setup is required, more continuous profiling at 2 centimeter gap is being done, and the total cost is reduced because in SPT the lot of arrangements are there. So those arrangements are not required to be done here. So here you can see the figure. Now at this level, you can attach an attachment, or at the tip level, you can attach an attachment for finding out various things just such as piezometer or geophone. These are attached. Readings are taken every 10 to 50 mm, that is 1 to 5 centimeter. Continuous hydraulic push for every 2 centimeter. Diameter varies from 3.5 to 4 centimeter. I will show you the figures. Now you can see here. These are the attachments you can see at different. This is the way out. Some of them are able to be penetrated by the water available into the soil, and some are completely impermeable. Standard piezo cone. Now you can see we are having an attachment here as a piezo cone. Here also you can add an attachment here. Porous filter element made of plastic, ceramic or sintered metal. So this is a porous, that means the water can enter to find out the saturation or the water content into the soil. Then triaxial test we have. This we will discuss next time. The purpose of the triaxial test is only that whatever unconfined or in this we have got the disturbed sample, and we try to arrange an undisturbed sample out of the disturbed sample to find out the stress onto the sample from the three sides. What is going to be the mechanical behavior of that particular soil sample? Different, any type of soil sample can be tested, which comes into the category of the triaxial test feasibility.